Moment of prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today for the prayer, I brought with me a prayer that when I was in high school, I worked in the U.S. Senate for one semester. And one of my friends there, his dad was the chaplain of the Senate. Came up to us one day and said, would you like to write a prayer to open the chamber? And I said, sure. So I wrote it up in my junior high, verbiage, and he rewrote it in fancy wordage. So I thought today it might be kind of neat to read that one. So we'll pray the same one that opened the U.S. Senate on May 1st, 2006. Let us pray. Sovereign Lord, majestic Father of all creation, speak your truth to us. Today, may our senators, in this case, councilmen, stop in the midst of our busyness and listen for your voice. Give them the discernment to hear you correctly. Grant them the courage to live out your calling in their lives. May these leaders work as one body to accomplish your will. Give them wisdom in their tasks, confidence in their hearing of your voice, and a love for you as well as each other. Give them dedication. Remind us all of the truth that neither death, nor life, nor height, nor depth, nor any created thing can separate us from your love. We pray in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you. That was pretty good wisdom for your age, that time. We are having a change in the order of the agenda, so bear with us. We'll get you all in eventually at some point in time. So want to begin with Darren Bates.
Well, the minutes first.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, minutes. Let's approve the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second, Corey, and all those in favor? Opposed?
That just needs your or my signature. Now you can do whatever,
Now let's get on.
whatever you want to do.
Let's go with Aaron.
Have a seat if you like.
Already an hour and a half here, so.
Darren is here. Julie Marie and myself, along with Darren, have been working on the approvals and numbers and so forth on lit and property tax relief allocation. And as you know, once something is done here on that, it has to go to the rest of the tax council, and it takes 30 days. Then in 30 days or the next meeting, we can adopt. I think that you all had received, obviously, the changes that you made, I don't know, a few months ago. And Julie Marie can tell us if we need an actual approval again now, or if that's still good, or if you just need to sign it or whatever. Property tax relief allocation, we are currently at the 84%, 16%. Darren looked at all the numbers and is suggesting, at least for this year, going to 55, 35, and 10, I think. And Julie Marie has all the information prepared, so obviously if you stay at the 84-16, we're good. We don't have to do anything. If you change the other, we then have to do that here and then send it out to tax council. Did I say all that correctly? I think I did. So any questions that you have of Darren, he's going to fill us in on some of what the state is doing and how that's going to affect, maybe not 24, but probably will affect 25. So you may want to look at changing this again the following year. Okay, Darren.
So hold on, just to make sure I'm definitely getting this all right. So earlier this year, we lowered the income tax rate, but now we're just saying within that rate is one of those is the property tax relief. So those revenues offset property taxes, and now we're just deciding how do we distribute that relief. Is that right?
Correct. Which way is most financially best for the units of government to pay your bills?
Okay.
It goes against the money that you can't collect at that point.
Yep, I gotcha.
And so by changing the percentages from 84 and 16 to 55, 10, and 35, what does that accomplish do for us?
It's targeting where you're losing money on total rental, meaning that they changed What used to qualify in rental was any rental, commercial rentals, mobile homes, or you having a home. You can't use that anymore, which you've already changed that. So now what they call is rental. What that is any person owning a house that you rent, you can give credits to, but you can't target commercial buildings of rentals. So that's where you're hitting caps. That's where you're losing money, the money you cannot collect against your homes that you are renting, because there's a 2% limit, being that there's no deductions. So pulling it away from the homeowner credits, which they weren't hitting. Very few homeowners were hitting the caps. All you're doing is reducing their property taxes in lieu of you're losing money on the rentals. And therefore, financially, not politically, but financially, this brings in more money. I think it's on the sheet at the bottom how much more money it would bring in to the county as a whole. Now, this does not factor in what I learned 2.5 weeks ago in Miami County that the governor signed in that in your county, last night when I realized, I remembered that I was supposed to be here early, I ran how many homeowners had mortgages. Because as of this year for next year, the standard deduction is going from $45,000 to $48,000. But you're losing your mortgage at $3,000. So most people are like, oh, well, it's a tit for tat. No, because only 53% of your homeowners in this county have a mortgage. So the ones that don't have mortgage will get another $3,000. In your case, that's roughly $14 million of net AV next year you will not have. And therefore, the state, when they figure your rates, they will up your rates because you're still entitled to the money you've got. But who's going to do that? Well, it's going to be on the rentals, which you're already hitting caps, means you're going to lose more money. And businesses, because again, the fact that homeowners went down by 3,000 and the rates have to go up, and for the other buckets are going to be suffering. So when I made that, I didn't know that, but now I do, and therefore it even makes more sense that you rearrange financially. So that number I'm showing you that you will make more revenue actually is going to be larger than that. I can't give you how much because, again, we don't have everything rolled. We don't have deductions. Allow us still, in your case, or no, Xsoft, all the vendors, all the taxi softwares are still modifying their program to accommodate not just this, but other things that I'll get onto in a minute.
So this sheet is not accurate anymore.
Because everything's changed, but it's
It
close.
used to be higher. Then again, I don't have the numbers to run. I
Right.
don't have the assessments and the deductions to be able to recalculate all the bills of what this $14 million would do. More than likely, it's only going to affect it by, say, $50,000 to $80,000. It's not what I have on there.
7,000.
Okay, it might be 200,000 net. Looking at the numbers at that point, that by rearranging, it might bring in another $200,000 now. Countywide, not county government, but countywide. I always work on county as a whole. Now that's for next year. Now next year for page 25, I firmly recommend that you revisit this again when we get new numbers again, because they are upping the standard, or the standard deduction goes up for next year to 48,000. But for page 25, they're upping the 35% to 40% on the supplemental deduction. That means homeowners will, anything after your standard deduction, take a $100,000 home, knock off 60%, but maximum 48,000, there's 52,000. So you take 52,000 times, instead of 35%, you take it times 40%. So now their assessment's going down even further. That means homeowners will, the net AV, the tax in 25 will be reduced by $70 million. So they're trying to accommodate, the legislators and the government are trying to accommodate, because homeowners are complaining that assessments have been going up and taxes have been going up. But so are businesses and farmers and so forth, but they're not worried about them. because majority of people that vote are homeowners.
So the state's new recommended rates are a reaction from the last 2 years' dramatic increase in property value.
Yes.
Is that- Okay.
So
That's
they
what we're-
upped the standard deduction from 35% to 40%. The next year after that, it drops back down to 37.5%. So in 3 years from now, it'll be back to 35%. By
they're
that time,
anticipating the bubble again, that everything's gonna come back
that,
down.
yeah, and that's why they said, okay, we'll let it go for 2 years at 40, then 37.5 to 35, because they figure the housing bubble is gonna go back down and assessments will drop again. And therefore, there's no need to have it back still at 40%. But that means you're still looking at, again, like I said, 70 million of net AV on homeowners gone, which is going to drastically increase your rates against, again, the other caps, 2 and 3. In other words, renters, and commercial rentals and home and businesses. So again, these numbers of 200,000 was based on reality of today's rates and today's assessments. And without knowing that they're going to change the $3,000 mortgage at that point, how it would affect when I did that.
Mhm.
So then next year, when we get those numbers, we can try to project what 40% supplemental increase would do to you. Therefore, again, it goes back to is whether you rearrange it even more to cap 2, or you just eliminate your credits altogether, like I think we talked about before, and moving them to the bottom line of different buckets of economic development or PSAP or public safety, or all the different 7 different categories that they have now, which I've been told they're looking at 2 new ones. And I said, I don't even care to hear about it until the reality. So again, they keep creating ways of paying your bills, and they keep eliminating the ability to give credits to bills. And as a president of the council in Wells County yesterday told me, he has a person down at the Ways and Means Committee, and he says, one-on-one, he acknowledged that, yeah, they're working towards eliminating the credits. I said, yeah, but publicly they'll say, oh, no, we're not talking about that. So the bottom line is you need to look at how to pay your bills. That's why I'm here trying to explain the numbers. And I look at it this way, this is a fact, this has been signed into law, and this is just a beginning. I'm sure that they're going to try to do some other crazy things to make your life miserable again.
So today, just to explain a little bit on the existing lit and what all we've discussed, Darren had notified myself and Julie Marie that when you look at this and sign this, up in the top, you had to put, even though public safety is going to be 0.25, you have to put 0.31, and then down here below, 0.02 of that is PSAP. That's just the way it has to be configured. So it's not, public safety isn't actually getting 0.31. 0.02 of that will be going to PSAP 911. So I think I said that pretty well. So the thing that you're doing today would be to make a motion, vote on this ordinance, which would be 2023-13, under the configuration that it shows on here, knowing that next year you're probably going to have to address some of this again because of what the state continues to do.
The state mandates you do it every 2 years, but they also say you can do it every year if you want to.
Resolution number?
It's ordinance 2023-13,
So this ordinance is covering what we.
what you had
voted on
already
last
discussed, yes. Yep. The only change on this from what you all had already discussed is on the property tax relief allocation. And that's what you have in front of you where Darren worked up the numbers and I printed that off for you.
That part of it.
Rather than the existing percent of revenue of 84% in the 1% allocation type, 16% in the 2% allocation type, you're changing that to 55 in the 1%, 10 in the 2%, and 35 in the residential property in order to get a few more dollars to pay the bills.
Yes.
Anybody have any more questions for Darren, or? You can entertain a motion.
Okay, any other questions, discussion? Or entertaining a an ordinance
Ordinance
2023
2023-13.
as presented? All those in favor?
Aye.
No, did we get a motion in second?
Yeah.
Who motioned in second? Did I miss that? Who made the motion?
I'll make the motion.
I don't think anybody made a motion. Kathy and
John?
John,
What?
Are you seconding?
you seconding that?
I will second it, yes.
Okay, now you have a motion and a second, so now you can have the vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then we'll just send this around to get signed. I'll make sure that we both get copies. Julie Marie,
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
you want to sign first and then I'll send it around? If we don't forget you later.
yeah,
There we go.
that's all for Darren, right?
Yep, unless you guys have more questions for Darren. Darren, I appreciate you. Anytime I ask, you're up here. You do a lot for all the counties that you help, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much
Thank you.
When do we don't have to make a decision about this today, correct?
that you just did it.
But
Which-
the
which-
one,
I'm
the
confused.
55,
Which
10,
one
and
did you do?
35?
The 84 or?
No, we did
Changed
the
it.
55,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay.
55,
I was gonna ask the same question.
55, 10, 35.
Yes, okay,
Yeah, this was the proposal.
okay.
So then with this being done before September, is it still going to be effective in January at this
Yeah,
point?
for
Yeah.
first of the year. Because
It's still got a
your
30-day
council for 30
process.
days, and it has to go to DLGF, because they just got tentative approval, but they have to review it for, and actually sign off on it.
So I'll have to send a copy of this to DLGF. We have to send a copy of this out to the rest of the tax council in the county. So it's basically 30 days. We should be good next month.
Which is 30 days before the deadline hits.
So
All right, good.
that's just in case there is something wrong and it takes another 30 days. That's why
Then
we're
you're on
doing it
the
now.
teeter-tottering of not making it yet. All right.
Thank you, Darren. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.
Mike Brown, did you care to share?
I can sign Rex and Bob remote. Yeah.
I did an overview of the generator project, and did all of you get a copy of that in your email? And everybody read it. So, are there any questions about anything dealing with that outline that I have in place?
So when all is said and done, the generator or generators that will essentially keep this whole building running? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, just so we make it clear that what the needs are for IT, we don't need a generator that large. You know, but there's other things that came up that we felt like, in discussions with Rick and others, that it was probably to the best interest that we work on getting the whole building under generator. And so, that's the mission that we went to at that point. And of course, then, we started in with getting it approved through ARPA funds, but it was just for the generator. And at the time, the transfer switch from what we knew the costs were going to be, because we couldn't get a firm number. In 2021, we just had to do quick swag at it. So,
Mike, could you speak a little louder, please?
yeah. Back up the microphone, because that's what we, the system is for.
Here, Rick, here's it.
Thanks.
What was that total amount, Mike? 71,315? Is that? For what you're, is that what you're bringing that the commissioner said to come to the council to find out where to pay it from? There were 3 quotes.
Yeah, well, we have multiple quotes. Can you hear me now, by the way? Is this better or not?
I could hear you to begin with. It's people in the back, I don't know. Nathan, can you hear him back there?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay.
Okay, so I think, Tony, on this is that I think we have to look at it as a project and what the complete project is going to be. So we had an ARPA amount that was in there, but we couldn't get numbers back in 2021 for the entire project. We knew that if we put a generator out in front of this building, and the main reason we were getting a generator update was that the data center room was going to take more capacity than what our current generator could supply. So it had to be updated. We went to a larger generator to include the entire building and not the data center. And so I think, Tony, as you look at this, we need to be looking at what is an entire project, because it doesn't do us any good to set a generator in the front of the building if we're not connecting it in so that it can power the entire building. And so that's what that's what this is now showing, is that we think the entire project for estimated cost right now is going to be just a shade under $600,000 to get everything so that this building can now function under the new generator.
The initial approval that was given under ARPA to begin with
Was 300.
300,000.
Yeah, 300,000. And believe me, Rick worked his darndest to try and get numbers. It was just this whole thing dealing with COVID at the time, and for him to try and get people who could actually supply quotes and who could work and so on things. But we knew it was going to be over that amount. But I think at the time, what we wanted to do is we wanted to get a generator purchased because of the lead times in that particular time frame. Back then with COVID, things were going to take a year to get in and so on at that point. So a lot of events, a lot of things took place, but I think we just got to get to the bottom line is that here's where we're at. We finally got some numbers in to get everything functional, and it's close. I'm not saying how accurate it's going to be, because Rick has done a very good job with the help of Gene to try and bring people in who could do the kind of work that needed to be done. And Gene gave what he wanted to see as far as the type of work and how it was to be completed, which was out of our wheelhouse for both Rick and I.
I'm just trying to be clear.
Mhm.
At the commissioners meeting on the 13th, $71,300 quote came before them, and commissioners directed you all to come to this meeting to determine where that $71,300 should be paid from.
Yeah.
Whether it should be paid out of ARPA or whether it should be paid out of a CUME fund or something else. I think I'm saying that correctly. But are you now saying that it's going to be larger than that and you're going to,
It's still
The-
71,000. Yeah.
okay, so
For
that's
that
what
part, there's multiple parts on this.
right.
So there was a part that we could now start to work on it and we knew what that number was going to be.
Yeah.
The
But
additional 300 includes that 71.
yeah, yeah. Right. That's because otherwise, if we don't do it now, Tony, then we're going to have to keep coming back. and
Well, that's
keep
fine.
coming back. So,
All I had known
Yeah.
from that meeting was the 71,300.
exactly. You're
That's all
right.
I knew
Yeah.
coming into this.
Yeah, you're
But
right.
if you are now saying to council, I don't know, Julie Marie, how that, if he wants another 300,000 for the generator project out of ARPA, which would include this 71,300, council can make that decision, but it would then again have to go back to commissioners for approval also.
It sounds like the commissioners have already approved.
They approved the
spending
set,
it,
well,
But they
No, they
didn't
didn't.
specify as to where it should come, so.
well, that's just the 71,300. If he's wanting 300,000 total, and council dictates they want that out of ARPA, the original amount that was out there was 300,000. He's wanting 300,000 more to cover all the overages and everything.
Right.
So
Is it
I'm saying, if they do approve that, wouldn't that then go to the commissioners?
Commissioners would have to authorize additional funding for a project even though it's already underway, yes.
Is it the 300 or is it the 249, 481? That's the only one I can,
Make sure we do it right.
Yeah, it's like.
it's
I
the
think
249,000,
Yeah. mhm.
481.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We paid for some of that out of 1138 on some of the stuff for that total 589, 234.75. We paid 32,000 out of 1138 early on. Early
And the
on.
249,000 will finish that, and that also includes the larger generator.
Yes. Yes.
I think ARPA's the right place to get it from.
Yeah, I would soon wrap it up and get it taken care of. Let's move on.
I'll make a motion to pay that additional amount for the generator out of ARPA funds.
Second.
249 and whatever.
$300,000 you're talking about.
300,000 or
Or
249?
249, 841.
300 was the original, so the 249 is the new.
On top of the 300.
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, $249,481.94.
Money for that?
Who seconded it?
You.
I did.
John did. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the request?
I-
Did, Bob and Rex, were you both ayes?
Yes.
Okay. All right,
Yes.
thank you. So then this will go to the commissioners for approval as well. Then, I don't know, Julie Marie, we have to do a resolution, another
I will.
resolution or,
We'll have to do a resolution for supplemental
okay,
distribution.
okay. Okay,
So does that bring us down to around 2, a little less than 2 now, 1.8-ish,
1 point,
maybe 1.7 and a half.
yeah.
Soon it'll be gone.
Is that it?
I am.
Any other further
We're doing that now
discussion?
too.
Fine. Good enough. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Let's see. We're going to devote some time to discussion of the hospital bond agreement.
what was that?
Julie Marie?
Bond agreement. that's-
Sorry, what was it, where are we on?
What are-
The bond
You
agreement?
want to talk about?
Yep,
bond?
okay.
That's
I
not
can,
that.
yeah. Last council meeting, we had talked a little bit about possibly hiring outside counsel to try and get some questions on the bond agreement answered, just to make sure we understand with the hospital what is the agreement, and just so we can make sure we understand everything. So I've got John here today. I don't know if he wants to come up, just kind of introduce yourself a little bit. This is a option for you guys, and I think the only thing on the table here is for us to agree to retain him. I don't believe we need any additional appropriations because we already have funds in the account for that. So, yeah, come on up.
Well, thank you for having me here today. My name is John Becker. I'm with Churchill Antrim. I'd call ourselves a statewide law firm. We have offices in Maryville, Fort Wayne, Fishers, Zionsville, and Noblesville is our main hub. I drove 2 hours today. I usually don't charge for drive time, but that's kind of what we do. We'll be anywhere from New Albany. One of my colleagues was down in New Albany yesterday. And Amy Fox, who's in our Fort Wayne office, will be anywhere from South Bend to West Dell or Gaston or Muncie Community Schools. So we travel the state. I think we have 40 attorneys. No offense to the law clerks. They're not yet sworn in, but we represent cities, towns, county governmental entities. Obviously, the bulk of what we do is school law. And so it's very compatible. Purchasing policies, I present with IASBO at various conferences and also deal with SBOA and DLGF. We've got an operating referendum, for example, we're handling this week. But if there's any questions, I'm happy to have those questions answered.
Have you discovered the context of your discovery that you're going to pursue? What are we looking at here?
I understand it deals with a bond arrangement, and I've been provided some preliminary documents back in 2000, 2001 that deals with the CETA tax. And my understanding is there are some questions or research or analysis that's going to be related to that transaction.
So if we vote to retain you, then I guess would the best way to proceed from here just be that any individual questions that different members of council want to have with you at that point, just send those to you individually, and then you can start researching into those, or do you want to have a special work session later? What would be the best?
It's whatever is compatible and efficient for you. I'm pretty much, other than the fact that I do try to sleep for 6 hours a night, but I'm reachable most hours of the day, including even when I'm outside the United States. So whatever works, Zoom calls, emails, texts, happy to always drive up here as well.
So is the question on the table whether or not to retain this person to look into this? Is that the?
Yep, I can make that motion. So just making a motion to hire Churchill and Antrim, specifically John Becker here, to look into the arrangement.
We have an estimate, you and I talked about it, I have an idea, but an estimate of what cost may be for that.
Yeah, I think what we would suggest is an hourly rate. I don't know that a flat fee would be fair to the client in this case, because obviously we don't know the scope of the project and how many hours it's going to be. I think initially my hourly rate's $275. We're happy to work with you on that rate. We want to provide value, but we also realize you have a budget. And obviously we're an expense because we're not going to be generating revenue per se, like other things like your property tax would. But initially I would say 10 hours at $275 is, let's say, $27.50. What I try to do is once we dive in, once we get all the documents at this point, I could come back and obviously say, here's the amount of time. What I usually do is work with all the clients to say, what is it specifically that you'd like for us to do? And then, after we get the documents and have a chance to look at those, we'll regroup to say, here's what the cost is going to be. But, you're the customer. So ultimately, it is your budget as to how much you would like for us to allocate to this project.
I guess for me, we're talking maybe a few $1,000s versus we've given the hospital, and we're required to, and I understand that, and I'm not saying we shouldn't. I don't think any of us here are trying to get out of living up to our responsibility, and I don't think that's the question at all. But for me, the question is, being taken advantage of. And I feel like we have been and we are being, and I don't feel like our hospital's a good community partner with our Adams County tax.
I have an observation. Can I speak to that, please, Fred?
Yeah, let me finish, please.
Okay.
So for a few $1,000s to have this checked out, I don't think it's a bad idea.
And I would say, just to be clear, at this stage in the game, the only thing we're doing here is just saying, let's get some answers. What is the arrangement? What's the situation? Are we all on the same page? I mean, at this point, we're not looking for any change per se. We just want to know. We just need to know what are the options, what are the legal availabilities, and what's going on. So I think that's really all we're at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking, we've given millions of dollars to the hospital. So.
Yep, so I'll renew that motion, and to be clear, this would be council hiring, so it's not all of county. I know commissioners have their own council and different departments have their own, but this would be specifically, the client would be for council.
I guess my question going into all of this is, does the council have the authority to change?
We're not,
That's what
we're
we're
not
asking.
trying to change our responsibility, Dennis. But I mean, I want to know, exactly what the funds look like as far as, 'cause frankly, I know that bond has been, that's been refinanced a couple of times, so that payment has gone down while the amount collected has gone up, has to have. I mean, we aren't paying a flat number, we're paying a rate. And the money that rate is paid on has increased. Over 20 years, it has to. And I just feel like there's a difference there that's a pretty wide difference that, it's county tax dollars that, and, I just think we need to know what's happening with it.
Yeah, we're not changing anything. We're
Yeah,
just
we're
voting
not.
on retaining council. We're just,
Just so we know what our options are, because I don't think any of us know, to your question, I don't think any of us know the answer to that question. That's what we'd like to hire someone to do, is to give us that answer.
Adam, would you care to address this? You mentioned something about sharing before we have the motion.
Well, I actually, if it's okay, I'd like to finish this vote so that we, are about to hear from another entity's attorney. I'd like to have our own attorney hired before we do that, if that's okay.
We have a motion before us to approve the,
I don't know if we got a second.
I'll second.
motion and second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose.
Unopposed? I want to hear from Adam first.
So, hold on. You three, aye. Kathy, Rex, and Bob, are you nays?
No, I'm an aye.
Yeah, I am.
Bob's an aye. Okay, so that's 4 ayes, 3 nays.
Yep.
You mean two
No,
names?
2 nays.
2 nays. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Dennis didn't vote.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Adam?
Just, I guess briefly, Fred, I'd like you to explain what you mean when you say that the hospital's not a good community partner.
Hey, don't get me wrong, they put a little bit of money out for some small things here and there, and they're, get the notoriety from that. But I think there's pretty big dollars available to be a better community partner with, for example, right now we're getting hammered with, and it's a big publicity stunt, in my opinion, to hold the proverbial gun to the council's head to support some of these private entities and what's going on with, helping people with drug issues and stuff like that, for example. While I agree that that stuff is all very good projects and they deserve help and all that stuff, it should be private funded though. And I never see the hospital stepping up for any of that. And they're asking for some significant money. And you're collecting a lot of tax dollars tax dollars from Adams County residents. And so, you know, to put everything consistently on the shoulders of the Adams County taxpayer, I just don't want to do that.
Okay.
And I think, the hospital.
So you think the hospital should be supporting private industry?
And they need to step up more than they do, is what I'm saying.
And just to be clear, the only thing we are doing as an entity right now is just hiring someone to just look at the situation and give us advice as to what the arrangement is. So I, you know, just want to make sure we're clear about what the purpose right now.
Well, I just want to point out, I just pulled 2022 just to show an example, that you don't think that the hospital is doing anything for the community.
I didn't say not anything.
You said
But-
not little things.
It is little things, in my opinion.
Okay, so let's just look at that. So in the seated dollars that we received in 2022, the county hospital received $1,649,287. Okay, of that portion, the county's 64.33% of that was $1,060,986. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we'll say yes at this point.
Okay, the total EMS loss, now EMS is a responsibility of county government, period, by statute. It's a responsibility of county government. The loss was $1,223,852. The county contributed $430,852. So the hospital absorbed that loss of $793,000. In addition, in 2022, we refunded the amount of the excess from the refinance, which was $150,000, of which the county received $96,495. The net amount of the county to the hospital for 2022 is $171,491. And every year, we've absorbed that loss from the county EMS. So I think that's a very unfair statement for you to say that the county hospital, who employs almost 950 employees in this county, or with 950 employees total, I think that's a very unfair statement to say that we're not supportive of our community. We're not part of our community.
The only time we see you guys is when we start talking about this type of stuff. That's when you come in. And so all we're asking to do is verify some of this. And if all that is good, then fine. Maybe I'm incorrect, but still, I think there's stuff within our county that the hospital could step up and be a better community partner with. And so right now, you know, these are numbers you've provided to us and we haven't, you know, done any homework on that. We're just asking to look. And if us looking makes you guys nervous, then I mean, to me, there's something worth looking
It's an
at.
absolute mistrust that you have of the county hospital.
Well, how can you blame us, Adam?
You just said that,
How
but
can
you don't think
how
we're.
can you blame us?
Tell
I'm
me-
getting at. I mean,
tell me how-
you never want to share anything with the county.
That's not true at all. The county commissioners will tell you that we meet with them every year and go through all of our finances. They are the ones who appoint our board of directors. They appoint all 5 members of our board, and we review this with them every year.
Well, not much of that information gets to us. And right now, we're just asking for some clarification and we want to know what's going on as much as possible. Because again, we give you a lot of money every year.
And we do for you too. Now, and I know you want to view those, to make sure that I'm giving you the right information, but
I'm not saying you would intentionally give me the wrong information, but we'll, you know, obviously we'll take a look at all that.
what information do you want from the hospital?
We want to know how our money's being spent and where it's going and I mean, again, the payment has gone down and the collection has gone up.
Right?
And,
But
you know,
the-
only recently have we talked about refunding some of that to the county. And that's only because I think we're asking.
That's not true. How many years ago was it, Tony, that we gave the county $500,000, 2 different years in a row?
2016?
So this isn't something that just came up.
Well,
And Adam, just to put my spin on it, it might be a little bit different, but generally speaking, I just feel like this is a big question mark, and I just want to know. That's all I want to know.
What's a big question mark? I don't understand.
What are we spending? What's going in? What's the arrangement? What's the bond what was the municipal interlocal agreement look like?
I gave you
And I-
copies of that.
I understand that, but I think you're counsel for the hospital, so I want answers from our side to say what is happening here. Not saying there's anything wrong with that. I just truthfully want to know. I want to uncover what's going on. And if John looks into it and says, yeah, everything is 100% on the up and up, move on. Like, I'm done. I just wanted to know that. And I have every confidence in the world in Julie Marie Brown. I mean, I respect her a lot, but you guys were in the same firm for a long time. And while you were in that firm, you represented the hospital. So I think it puts her in an awkward position, and I just want to sidestep that altogether. So again, I have 100% confidence in that, but I just like the idea of outside counsel being able to look at it and just tell us what are the options, what's going on, and everything might be 100% fine. I just want to know. That's all there's.
That was the original intent, is to see what we can do to better our end. Like Fred was saying, these CETA funds, it's paid from the income tax rate, which stays the same, but the income tax is raised.
Sure.
So our payment has increased yearly,
Right.
steadily.
But I
Where-
think everybody clearly knew that 20 years ago when
Right.
we did this. And the amount that's
Well,
being generated from
sorry,
CETA, go ahead.
the hospital, they've had the opportunity to refinance their side
Mhm.
to, make it more palatable, and even, a lesser payment where, and that's the agreement we entered into, but now the tides have shifted greatly. It was a 50-50, and now our payments are getting larger and larger. And yours, it's a financial decision for the hospital to refinance, it's fine. But our payment just keeps going up and up and up, where the smart move, I would have refinanced too. But I think our intent was to look at what options we have to kind of rein in what we're spending.
We know we have an obligation that we're not trying to get out of. We know that.
Yeah, but your comments about that you're giving us millions of dollars like we're just frittering it away, it's a very unfair comment to make, Fred. Because-
I'm saying, we are giving you millions of dollars.
You're exactly right, which was agreed to 20 years ago so that we could have a locally owned and operated hospital. And so those funds come in, they're not exceeding the amount of the bonds. It's not like we're taking money off the top. And we're willing to sit down and talk to you about what it is I know you want to build, I think it's a judicial center.
We have a lot of challenges in our county. And so we're just trying to do what's best for the
You
county.
do, and the hospital is one of your largest employers.
We understand that.
Adam, you mentioned that the county portion of CETA is used to fund the debt retirement.
Yes, the money goes directly to the bond bank.
And so is that given in lieu of what the hospital would pay, or are you paying in addition to that?
We pay in addition to that then.
Okay, are you equaling that amount, or?
No, not anymore. It was at one time. And there were times where the hospital paid more than an equal amount because back in 2008, 9, 10, when the economy went down, of course, CETA dollars went down also. And so,
So us paying our portion is allowing you to free up some money for
Other
operation and
yes.
expenses.
and I just want to say, you talk about Fred, that you think we should be supporting private or things that should be paid for out of private dollars like drug and alcohol. We run in a BH that works with the jail, that works for North Adams schools. We see lots of people, we lose over $500,000 a year on BH. It's not something that's funded well. And then you think we should put more money in.
We want to know, and trust me, we're not just the people sitting right here. I have discussions about this all the time outside of here with constituents and county residents, and they want to know too. So I don't think there's anything wrong with just checking.
Well, I don't mind, I don't care if you check. I just don't appreciate comments that make it appear that the hospital isn't a good community partner. I think that's a very, very unfair
That is the way it
statement
comes across,
to you.
not just to me. Not just to me.
Okay. The only thing I would tell you is, I mean, there's been bond counsel involved in this the whole way through, from the very beginning, and it's been the same bond counsel the whole way. They're not tied to my firm. We're not connected with them. There's no
And no
past
one's alleging
relationship
that.
with them.
Yeah, I don't.
But I'm just telling you, they would have all this information for you probably at hand to be able to give you the same information, not to go against this gentleman here.
Right.
But I'm not sure why you would go to an Indianapolis law firm, but that's your choice, so.
Dan, you wanted to comment?
I guess from an administrative standpoint, I kind of resent some of Fred's comments also. But one of the mindsets that seems to come up is us against them. And it's not. It's our hospital. From an administrative standpoint, the commissioners appoint the board administers the hospital. And so it's our hospital. It's not that hospital in the county. It's we have seen the advantage of having a county hospital that's independent and maintains an excellent quality of care and constantly improving services. You know, when we come in as commissioners and we see what the hospital is doing as far as continuing to bring specialists in, surgical specialists, continuing to administer practices throughout the county, continuing to build new clinics in Geneva and Bern and Monroe, and continuing to administer nursing homes. I think as we looked at it as commissioners from an administrative standpoint, I am extremely proud of our hospital. I'm extremely proud of that relationship. I'm extremely proud to have an independent hospital that has control over healthcare in the county. And I guess I resent that from the standpoint of the administration of that facility. And so they're not taking advantage of us. They're providing multiple advantages, just like with EMS. I mean, they can come in here tomorrow and drop the keys to the ambulances on your desk and say, here, we're done with it. You guys administer. But they don't. It's administered through the hospital at a loss to them financially, and it's administered in the best way to provide pre-hospital emergency care very quickly. They continue to do that. So I guess I just really think that we need to look at the hospital it's not them against us. It's our hospital. It's administered by us through the board. And it's for all of our benefit, not just economic, but from county health standpoint. So I have always seen that as one of the core responsibilities of county government in providing for the public health of our residents. And I think that is probably one of the strongest advantages that this county has is what the hospital is providing for us. So I appreciate, the openness that they've had with us, but, in those meetings, they continue to reinforce my trust personally in what they're doing, and how they're giving us an advantage of healthcare in the county.
I spent over 30 years in hospital administration, and I noticed a change in the paradigm of operation. And I think we should be extremely proud of what Adams Memorial does for the community and the public and their operation and their plan for the future. I think we should support them in every way we can.
So answering a few questions shouldn't be a big deal.
No, but I want you to be aware that not everybody on the council is, at this time, is on agreement.
I would just say one more time, and I said it a couple times now, but I really feel like it's worth repeating. To me, there's just it's like a dark room. I don't know what's in the room. I don't know what's going on. The lights are off. I just want to know. And when we flip the lights on, maybe everything is, I'm 100% happy with it, right? But I just don't know. So I have so many questions right now that I just want to know. That's truthfully the only thing from my perspective that I want to know right now. So I'm just looking for answers, and that's
Can I
it.
just, for clarification, I want to make sure I understand. So you want to know about the bonds and the bond money and the CETA tax, or you want to know how the hospital operates day to day?
No, and more of a whole picture though. I mean, what is the arrangement right now? What does it mean? What does it look like?
The arrangement, again, I'm sorry.
The
I don't mean to-
interlocal agreement that was signed 20 years
Okay.
ago, what does that look like? How long is it? What's the terms? Is there room for changes? Is it flexible? What is it? Who all's a part of that agreement? Where does the money go? What does it get applied towards? Just a lot of things like that. I just have questions. And we may get to the end of this and say, I really may get to the end and say, I'm perfectly happy with everything for me. I can't speak for everybody else. Or I could get in and say, that doesn't make sense. Why are we doing that? Right? It's like a dark room and I just want the lights turned on. That's it for me.
Steve, you had a comment?
Yes. I'm a county commissioner, and I've not been in politics long, because I'm in my third year, and sitting here at these accusations that have been thrown out in this room from council for our hospital is just amazing. I've been on them boards, I've met with Dr. Smith, I've met with Adam, I've met with everybody on the board of Adams County, and they are so open, and they have done so much for this county. I just feel insulted by what you said, Fred, because that is not true.
Well, Stan always talks about working together then, and you guys have not communicated anything very well.
That goes out double door there. You have not.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
I've never
We
been-
most certainly have.
Never been-
We've said it right here in this meeting. We've said it right here in this meeting, multiple times.
Any further comments to be explored? Adam,
you all
thank
for your
you.
time. I appreciate it.
Dennis?
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to follow up and support what you have said, what Stan has said, and what Steve has said, because the hospital, we're very fortunate to have an independent hospital in Adams County. And I've probably used it more than anybody sitting in that room. But we got good leadership, and they've been very open. When I was sitting on the board, they're very open with their financial information, which satisfied me. And I just think we're very fortunate because there's a lot of things that hospital does that we don't know anything about. And they're very supportive of the community. And if you took and we had a hospital that was outside this county, we would not have any input at all. At least we got some input, and they're sharing their resources with the county. I mean, I support what Adam done. I thought he explained it very well. And I really don't see any need to delve into it. I think the results are going to come out and say, that we're doing everything right.
That's great if that's true. But you know how many people have flown into things blind and say, oh, we don't need to check?
Okay, any other discussion?
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay. Shannon,
Yes,
wage agreement?
that was from last time. We forgot to do it.
Oh, I forget the one last time. I remember the one from this morning. Do you want me to?
It was for the facility maintenance tech at Golden Meadows, whose recommendation was to go from a 4 to a 5.
Yeah.
And she's got paperwork on it, so it's in your paperwork this time.
Yep. And then do you want me to go over the one from this morning as well?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Was that already voted on and approved on?
No, so that's a recommendation from the wage review committee to this one. So I'll make that motion.
Second.
This was a wage review recommendation on changing a job categorization.
What was that title again? Facility
Um,
maintenance coordinator or something like
What's the title?
Facility maintenance technician.
Say that again.
I got it. We have a motion in a second.
Need a motion in a second?
We already have one, yeah. Just need a vote.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Wait a minute. The ones that are on remote, their eyes kind of come at a weird time. Rex and Bob, are you ayes on that?
Yes.
Yes, I,
Okay. Okay, thank you.
This is really discombobulated.
Next.
Dan, Dan?
You want to discuss your ordinance?
Yes, under statute, commissary funds can be used for 9 categories. 8 categories are very spelled out, plain English. The 9th is as long as the financial body, you and the sheriff agree that the funds can be used for that, then we use them for them. We had some training with State Board of Accounts, and they really encouraged sheriffs to do this ordinance. Because there's things we use the funds for. I'm gonna use example, a lot of sheriffs, we put ads in like high school yearbooks. We sponsor youth teams, and under the youth teams, we write it under the category of reducing juvenile delinquency. And State Board says, you do it? Yeah, it's a stretch. Why not go under number 9 and just get council approval, and then you can do it and there's no issues, there's no stretch, it's transparent in that. So this ordinance, as you see, lists several things that basically the money has been used for in the past that State Board has basically considered a stretch. And so I'm coming to you to just put this into ordinance, and it's agreed upon, and then we continue doing business. If there's another expense that comes up, if it's going to be a one-time thing, I come and get your permission, we do it. We have to record what day, the minutes, the agreement for audit things. That's why they say this is much easier. If there's something you want to amend the ordinance, you just come back and amend it to add another category in. So that's what I'm here for, just trying to clean things up from State Board of Accounts on their advice to put these choices that we spend money on into this ordinance. And if you guys don't have any problems with it, or if you have questions over what some of those items are, that's what I'm here to talk about.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Fred?
Lori and Fred.
Okay, so this would be a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-14 that has agreed upon uses for jail commissary fund by the Sheriff's Department.
The question I have, what can't it be used for?
Well, literally, there's 8 things that are listed. If it's not listed and I don't have their permission, your permission, I can't use it for it. It's controlled very well. It's audited by State Board of Accounts every year. Most of you, Dennis, you did not receive it. I sent it to the wrong email. Tony, did you receive my email with I'm required by statute to provide that, basically what I spent money on twice a year. You'll get in January and you got in July. And it's about an 80-page, basically it's my checkbook for it. It shows what money comes in and what money goes out, and it lists every purchase. So that is provided to you twice a year. And if you want it more than that, you just let me know and I can provide it. But it is very controlled. There was some news this last legislative that the sheriff up in Gary, he bought a boat, and it was said it was used for personal use and all that. It was not. Gary has part of Lake Michigan in their jurisdiction. It's a boat patrol. He ended up getting a grant. It's a $400,000 boat. He got a grant that paid $300,000 of it, and he used commissary for $100,000 of it. But he also went through this process because it's a particular type of purchase and got council approval for it. So it just got blown out of proportion. But there have been sheriffs that used it. There's no doubt about that. But that's why we believe the checks and balances behind it through the State Board of Accounts. You're going to get caught. But this just cleaned things up. And like I said, we went to the State Board of Training, and they just said this is just a much easier way to take away any type of discretion from me. It's in there, it's black and white. And if I need something that's not listed in that, I have to come before this board to make those. But otherwise, commissary is used to maintain the jail, maintain inmates. We use for indigent funding for inmates that don't have money, that they still require personal hygiene stuff. We pay for that. There's a lot of stuff that's used for to the care and upkeep of the jail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a motion to approve resolution ordinance 2023-14. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I know that was an aye, so we're okay. Just got a little late.
Thank you,
Sign
Dan.
that.
Thank you.
Here's 2 copies. You already signed once. That's the other one. She needs a copy and I'll make a copy.
Let's go with,
Yeah, Carly and Holly.
yeah. Let's go, Carla Marble.
I have 2 grants. One is the school liaison grant for $220,000, and the preparedness grant that pays for my salary, and it's $25,000, and that one we've been taking since 2009.
Yeah.
So, the school liaison grant, I sent you information on it. Did anybody read, or what information do you want from me?
We're just talking about money that we're getting back from the state, right?
Yep, and we've got to hire a liaison, school liaison between our 3 school corporations, the 6 private schools, and the 47 Amish schools. So,
Then the wage review board, we met this morning and talked about all that. So what that position would be categorized and everything. So I guess she have stepped out, but I guess she didn't want to vote on that today, that piece of it yet. But the grant seems no reason why we wouldn't do that. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
and it's to pay for the programs that the school liaison does in each. And it's a deliverable grant. If we have 3 major deliverables. One is actually hiring a school liaison and somebody to actually manage the grant. But that can be done in-house. You don't have to hire somebody new. And there are surveys that have to be done, and some of the other deliverables are hearing screening, vision screenings, and so forth. We worked with Shannon to get information for the job description and everything, so.
Yep. Sounds like a great program. And Stan was explaining to me this morning that that's different than the governor's health initiative, which is a whole nother big potential grant coming down the road. So 2 different silos going on here.
This is required for those health, that governor's grant that you're looking at the monies, the Indiana Health Services, I think is what it's called. If we opt into that, then we have to have a school liaison.
And you have to
That's
have.
part of the requirements to opt in.
But they're telling us also this money's going to be reoccurring because it's coming from the CDC. So it's not state money, it's coming from the CDC. Oh,
And even with
like
the 220 or so that you have, it's going to last a couple of years, I guess.
yeah.
So, all right, I'll make a motion to approve both of those grants.
Second.
Corey and Fred to approve the grant approval.
Need your signature.
Health board.
I had mine signed.
All those in favor?
Opposed?
Is this just a question, is this something that, if they opt in, they get that money, let's say you get this grant, let's say 2 or 3 years down the line, they pull the grant for this, will it be a requirement for the health fund to continue that, or?
Depends on its state, so that can change. So it depends on what the deliverables they expect from these health services. At that point in time, I think those services are like pretty much set in stone for like 2 years. And then I think that they revisit it every 2 years. So then in 2 years, are those criteria that we have to meet going to change? I don't know. That's a possibility because the state is always changing, so you can't rely on it. But it sounds like even though it is, the school liaison, the grant money should still be there, That's what we're being told.
You have yours signed already?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, if you would, please.
Your other one also.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments otherwise?
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Now you got your second grant application. If you want paid.
And the motion was for both.
Well, the motion was for both.
Yeah. Cool, okay.
Thank you.
Let me mark that. It's for both. Okay.
Kelly, ARPA request for the library?
Maureen.
Thank you for allowing me to speak again, just to answer some of your questions that you had from last month and answer any other additional questions that you have. I have some members from my board here, Andrew Briggs and Janet Macklin, as well as some of the staff members, Laura Schwartz and Rich Weiland that you met last month, and friend of the library, Sherry. You can answer any additional questions too. As we talked about last month, the vehicle that we asked through this grant would be for outreach programs, including outreach to the Amish schools. We work with 43 of the 47 schools on a regular basis, to Woodcrest retirement facilities, and to daycares and preschools. It could also be used in the future to meet the needs of different neighborhoods, in the summer months, things like that for additional outreach programs in the future. Just to answer some of the questions that you had last month, the library does not own a vehicle currently. Currently, we have staff members who go from branch to branch during the day to do work. And we reimburse our staff for mileage, although not all of the staff members claim those miles. Many do, about half don't. We talked about the number, or just to give you some idea of the numbers, we have 52 visits in a year to Woodcrest. We see about 120, we go 120 daycare preschool visits. And in those, we reach approximately 1,500 children, and we see about 750 older adults at Woodcrest during our visits. We serve approximately 2,500 students in the Amish schools, and estimated, to your question, Corey, about the cost, if we were to rent a van for every one of those uses, it would be approximately $20,000. So that includes all of those visits. To your question, John, about the trailer, the trailers it wouldn't be very functional for us, simply because one, we don't have a vehicle, but two, I have some pictures on this page of like pretty normal.
Farmhouses,
Pardon me?
these farmhouses.
Yeah, those are schools.
or the schools.
So that would be the entry to the school, and they're pretty narrow. The drives are
Yeah.
not.
No, I got that last
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
fine.
that we know, that's the
I
idea.
was just doing a brainstorming, trying to.
Yeah, I know, it's good. I mean, I think that the question is a good one, and just to think of other opportunities, we would expect those kinds of questions and to be able to answer them. A smaller vehicle, I don't think anybody asked about that, but just in terms of the efficiency of our routes, it would double the number of routes that we would have. So that it's not very efficient, and we don't really have the staff for that.
Honestly, I don't think anybody's opposed to helping out in some way, shape, or form. It's just about of kind of figuring out the best way to do it.
Right.
And so,
And we appreciate that.
I think we need to get with you a little bit and talk about that, but, I just don't know that we want to approve it today necessarily, but I don't think we're opposed to the idea, so.
The idea itself. Are there any questions that we see this as a way of investing in our youth and adults, really all of Adams County. These programs hit a wide variety of ages and, underserved and people who are not necessarily able to make it to libraries for library services. So we see it as a way of connecting to those and really improving our quality of life throughout the county.
Yeah, I think he was trying to say it's still on the list, just not right now, today.
I don't think we're gonna move on any of them today, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of where we're at? Yeah.
What hours are you at the library?
I'm sorry,
What hours are you at the library normally?
what hours am I?
Yeah.
Normally throughout Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to just stop in and talk to you about it honestly.
You're welcome to. If you want to stop in after the meeting, today if that works, or just give me a ring.
Actually, I'm going to a doctor's appointment.
Okay. Just give me a ring.
And the request was for how much was it?
It was for 50,000.
Obviously, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I go back to an old adage that says readers make leaders. And I think that's true even today. Leading in educational achievement, I think it's critical.
If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out. Come meet with us. Come have a tour or whatever. I just like to make sure we answer all of your questions.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Okay, where are we? We have additional ARPA requests.
Get Oakwood up next.
So quickly.
Well, everyone's just gonna go.
Hi, Megan Jennings, the director of the Adams Wells Crisis Center. I believe you got a packet from me. If not, I have copies. I'm not sure if they made it to you. Okay. So I'm the director of the Adams Wells Crisis Center, and today I'm asking for $127,870 to replace roofing, windows, and doors, some upgrades to our IT and security, and replacement of heating and cooling and a company vehicle. So in October of 2019, I reopened the Crisis Center. It once was a residential facility. When we reopened, it's non-residential. With help from the state at that time and really looking at our community needs and what best serves Adams and Wells County, it was to move to a non-residential facility. I know in past, they would take clients, from anywhere just to try to fill the Crisis Center because that's how they were paid by their grants, was the number of bodies that spent the night. And that's not how I wanted to operate a facility. So we only take those who live inside the district that we serve. And switching to a non-residential method has really, we've served more clients than I've ever expected. In 2022, the Adams Wells Crisis Center served 94 adult survivors of domestic and sexual violence and 87 children. Of those 94 adult clients, 76 resided in Adams County. Of the 76%, 51% reside in Decatur, 25% in Bern, 14% in Monroe, and 1% in Geneva. And we've also been doing a lot of work with the prosecutor's office, DCS, and us meeting with the Amish community and meeting with their Amish abuse team. In the last 2 weeks, I've gotten 23 new Amish clients, so my statistics for next year are going to be even higher, which brings the need for the van. The one family we're helping right now has 12 people in the family, and to get them out of the house for services takes more vehicles than we have. We all use our personal vehicles. They're very interested in support groups, but transportation is an issue in the county for not even our Amish clients. to get them, and I'll bring them back to the office for a support group. We're funded through federal grants, state grants, fundraising, and donations, and all of the grants we receive do not pay for our major building repairs and updates. So that's why I asked for the things that I did. For Adams County, we're on call 24/7 for law enforcement for lethality screens, which means if law enforcement are out on scene and a survivor scores in likely to be killed, dead, or murdered based off of the assessment, we get a call at any time of the day or night, and we just do that for Adams County. If you have any questions or.
Go ahead, Chair.
Dan?
I just want to give my points of being 100% transparent. My wife is a board member and has been for probably over a decade here. I've been heavily involved with the crisis shelter, heavily involved in fundraising for it. But speaking on what they do for us, it's huge. My officers, middle of the night, they said they get something. Instead of saying to the victim, well, sorry, I can take you to a gas station, they call these ladies come out, meet them at the shelter, get them put away. Their grant does provide some funding to put them up in local hotels for a very short period of time. They are a huge asset to us. The model changed, like she said, in 19, to where we were housing people out of Fort Wayne and everything else. It wasn't good. It didn't work well. Megan has changed just around. And like I said, they fundraise as best they can. I believe last year, the year before, with some of the funds they've raised, they repaired one of the 3 HVAC units in the building. It's just the funds, they don't generate enough to take care of the building. The building was provided by Biggs way back when it first built. And we're coming up to 20 years and things need some updating. I just fully support this request because of what it does for the county, and domestic violence is increasing. The Amish community, like she said, I don't know what our guys would have done without them 2 weeks ago, removing a wife and 11 kids. My guys would have been dumbfounded. No place to put them. Some other people, like I said, Wells County, they're starting to use the facility a lot more too. I believe Megan's also going to be going to Wells County asking for some funds from that county also. So it's not just picking on Adams County. But I fully support this request of what the services they provide. They're in the schools with our young women and dating violence. They do counseling in groups with our young in all 3 high schools. It's just they do so much that the community doesn't even know about. So helping them out a little bit with these repairs, it's going to put them on schedule for another 20 years, hopefully. So I just want to put my 2 cents in. But again, I'm highly connected to this organization through my wife and stuff too. So up front with that right off the bat, there's no secret that. And just to say, I have won cooking for the cause a couple times too. So just letting you guys know.
Who has
always,
it, Dan? Come on.
Oh, really? Honey, I beat you so many times. So we always are looking for new cooks though. So, but again, on all seriousness, please heavily consider this. It's a great organization that does our whole entire community a huge benefit.
I want to ask something too. This and any other ARPA things out there, we always seek guidance from Julie Marie on all the ARPA stuff, and if they have a question, they go to Barnes and Thornburg. So my question for my office will be to Julie Marie on this and Oakwood coming up, so forth. You don't just get a check. This has to be, you send claims in, and all that has to be done a certain way. For example, when the sewer district got their ARPA request, they were a sub-recipient and took care of all the procurements, everything. As a matter of fact, when the state board, they're still here, they're just about done, but they got everything from the sewer district from Mark, all they needed. So anything that is not connected to the county where they're used to sending claims in and things like that, there is a process that you will have to go through for when we get audited on any monies that you get. It's not just a check that's written, say, oh, here's your 127 grand. That's not how it works. You kind of have to work with our office and with Julie Marie to make sure that everything is being done correctly, and we have to keep track of the amount that's been spent and so forth and so on. I just wanted to throw that out there.
And I believe you should have received an instruction and information overview sheet along with your application that explains the process. Did you get an application
I just got
instruction
the-
form?
I did not get the instruction. form.
Okay, I'll forward that to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Well, I think there are an ever-growing number of ARPA requests coming in, and they're now starting to be from private organizations, which is a whole ball of wax we gotta figure out how to deal with. So I think you saw we didn't move on the library today, so I think we're gonna table all of these for a little bit and try and chew on it and figure out what's the best way to approach all this. But
And I might say, sorry, Corey, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but this request and the Oakwood request, the commissioners have approved prior to coming to council, just letting you know that's where it's at.
Thank you.
Thanks. What are they requesting by way of dollar amount?
127 something. And that was what table?
Yeah. That should be in the record too.
It's right here.
Yeah. I don't remember the number. Yeah.
You're ready for the next one.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on. I didn't see you mentioned a van. I didn't see a van in this.
Might be on the second
Proposal.
page, second page on there.
Those 22 pages.
It's in the application. I didn't
Send all this stuff
put any in there because I figured with
on the second page of the request.
some of the quotes were different and we would just adjust to what was left for.
Okay. Oh, it's just in the written verbiage at the very beginning. Okay. I was looking through them. You have the quotes attached for everything else.
It's actually the very last line on this, Joe. Okay. Wait for this. Next one.
Oakwood.
Oakwood, Representative?
Yeah, good morning, guys. I'm Ben Adams. I'm the engineer for the Adams County Regional Sewer District.
Justin Schaefer, I take care of the water system for Oakwood.
Nathan Shear, Superintendent for the Sewer District.
Does everybody have a copy of the request? I mean, I'm happy to answer. I might as well use it. As you guys may or may not be aware of, we just completed a big sewer reconstruction project in the Oakwood addition. And this is just stuff use.
Okay.
As a part of that, we had planned on replacing or repairing the roads and actually had quite a sum of money in our project with which to do that. But what ended up happening is we realized we damaged the roads worse than we thought. There's very little there's very little stone base underneath the existing roadway cross section. And long story short, the way we had intended to repair the roads, we can no longer do, which led to some discussions and actually some heavy lifting on our part to completely replace the roads in the addition in their entirety. So literally tearing out the entire road cross section, replacing it with new stone and new asphalt. And the cost of that exercise is actually going to be close to $1 million. And so as we, finished the project in May, as people started to reconnect, and we started to get into a timeline for when we would actually repair the roads and again, replace them in their entirety. We also had in the back of our mind that the addition is also served by an aging water system. And actually it was put in almost 50 years ago. The lines are asbestos cement. which are extremely fragile and easy to damage. When we were doing the actual construction, we ran into the system on a number of occasions, had to make repairs because, you know, in places it sort of fell apart as we encountered it. So again, as we move closer to doing this roadway repair work, our concern is that there are still old sections of this main that are underneath certain portions of the addition's roadway. And the fear, I guess, on our part and on Justin's part is that as we tear out the existing road and as we begin to place the stone, compact same so that we can place asphalt, the only thing we're going to do is disrupt this aging water main underneath the roadway. And either A, we're going to have breaks that are going to occur as we're trying to replace the road, which is only going to lengthen the time it's going to take to replace it, or B, nothing's going to happen right now, but maybe in a year or two, there's going to be main breaks that are going to occur that are then going to bubble up through the road that we're then going to have to repair again. So quite frankly, the ask is really not to replace the entirety of the system, because some parts of the system have been replaced over the years by the residents of the addition, but just those areas, and the map identifies that are in the roadway or close enough to the roadway or crossing the roadway where they could become impacted by our roadway reconstruction work. And on the map that I included in the handout, the red sort of dotted lines are sort of the new routes of the main, and then we'll abandon the existing main that's either under the road or, you know, immediately adjacent. So the total ask is approximately 110,000. I mean, quite frankly, if we could come up with the money on our own, we would, but we've just spent every last dime of that specific project grouping on the two projects we did. We did one in Oakwood, and then we also serviced an area north of town near the Sunnybrook addition, and then in some of the adjacent county roads. So again, every last dime of our available contingency and, you know, monies that are left unspent, we're going to throw into the road, and that's why, you know, we've come with this final request for the water main replacement. I don't know if anybody has anything they want to add.
Is this water from the city of Decatur then?
Fred, it's not from the city of Decatur. The addition maintains their own private well. And so it's actually pumped from the ground and then distributed to the residents of the addition.
I mean, so they have their own independent water bill within that.
That's correct. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, they're a private system, but they are a public system. So that's why I'm there, because they have to have a licensed operator to maintain their plant, their water system, and repair all the leaks and do all their testing.
Well, it's somewhat an extension of the sewer district's involvement.
This has nothing to do with the county sewer district. I mean, the issues that we're rising with right now with the water system are a direct impact of what's happened because of the sewer district redoing the sewer.
Right.
Right.
So it's somewhat involved because of the sewer district.
And they've
the
prepared,
expansion to bring.
yeah, they've been out there and dug 10 or 12 times on the water lines just through construction and repairing main issues.
And one of the main problems we're going to see in the future, so the highway department maintains those streets and roads out there. So if we have those water lines underneath our brand new $1 million road, and then we get a main break, we're going to be having to be out there digging a brand new $1 million road up and fixing it. So we're just trying to be proactive here, fix the problem before it happens. I mean, just for instance, when Fleming was out there digging those lines, they never even hit a line and it was exposed and they were just crumbling. So that's just telling you the integrity of those water lines that are already there. I just hate to see putting down $1 million road and then we're digging it up in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years.
It's not a matter of, it's just a matter of when it will break.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, the one other thing too to point out, the residents of the addition pay for all the upkeep associated with the water system. And, you know, it'd be very easy to look at them and say, well, you know, this is sort of your issue. Why don't you just repair it on your own? But
the impact of the sewer district project has required them to basically replace their service laterals on their own individual properties at their own expense. And so they're already shelling out $2,000 to $3,000 to replace that lateral. And this would just be an added burden to their financial situation if we were to say, oh, by the way, we need money for this too.
Yeah, I would say this would be a large infrastructure, like basically an investment, and fix what's wrong. I would have no problem. It's a relatively small ask from what we've had, and it would service, I don't know, what is it, 60, 80?
I think there's
68.
Oh, 6.
Yeah, right at that, somewhere in there,
Well, I'm a
65.
good guesser.
So,
But yeah, I wouldn't see any reason.
So just to make sure I'm following all this, so the sewage district did now, was that the project they did? Was that the one that we did the ARPA funds for, or was it a different project?
No, that is correct, Corey. And in
Okay.
fact, the sewer district project replaced their existing collection system in its entirety, including the lift station that conveys the flows from the area to the city of Decatur.
Okay, so we approved the big project for them out of the ARPA money. They do the work. In the process, they cause some damage, but also sort of expose the fact that we've got some weak water lines under here. It's a private line, but they've already had to incur a bunch of costs to basically get themselves reconnected to the new project that we just did. So who is the actual requester at this point? Is it the private, is it the association, or is it the sewage district, or who's
I'm gonna
requesting this?
say, Corey, that it's the sewer district that's actually requesting for additional monies, because we will manage it as sort of an extension or an offshoot of the existing project. And again, like Tony had indicated, we've already followed all the procedures needed to, appropriately take care of these monies with reporting and all that kind of stuff. So I guess we're the entity that would be the most apt to administer this additional funding.
and if I can add, the long game with this ask would be that they would be able to effectively replace the remainder over a given time, because there's no asphalt to worry about. It puts their water main then only in the areas that are easily accessible with little burden, as opposed to road repairs and whatnot.
So Julie, could this actually be kind of like the overage that we just did? Would it be essentially take the original one and apply this towards it?
That was for
Not-
the development of the sewer district.
Right, that was for the sewer district. This is a water main line, is that correct?
That is correct.
This is for water main. This is something a little bit different, and the applicant is in fact the Oakwoods Housing Addition, is that correct? The homeowners association. So it's not the same applicant, so it's not an extension of something. It's interrelated with it, certainly, but no, it's not the same applicant.
And that would be her representing the association.
And again, it does tie to our sewer district and our project.
Yeah, very much so.
Servicing 68 homes times 4, or 2.5, whatever you want to.
200 something probably, residential.
Yeah. I'd make a motion to approve the $110,034.13.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve the ARPA fund request from Oakwood for $110,034.13. All those in favor?
Aye.
Was that everybody? Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Like now I know on those TV things when they had that like a 2-minute delay or something.
Okay. Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
County
We had
attorney.
me.
Thank you very much.
That shakes the whole room.
They do all.
Big numbers, didn't
For their first, we know that.
they? Yeah.
Free up a lot of seats.
Yeah, that's not very private. I mean,
Jill and Marie?
I mean, it's got to be tied to the fact that it's been nice. if
Good
it-
morning. Since we are just now finishing up some stuff on ARPA, I thought I would just update the figures. I sent you all kind of a running total, and I keep doing recaps of it just so that you're aware of the fund allocations to date. You made allocations to date, approved approximately $410,000, and we still have pending another, what is it? $400,000 that are still pending. We also have a question mark under the Parks and Recreations pickleball court. The last estimation that was given was approximately $65,000. That has not been finalized, but that's the ballpark that they're looking for there. We also need to keep in mind the fact that additionals are going to be requested for the WebEx system, and that figure has not been finalized and submitted to council. So based upon my calculations, if everything that is currently pending, in addition to the things that were approved today, were to be approved, we're looking at approximately $1.4 million left of ARPA funds at this time.
it's getting down to the,
And
I'm sorry?
I said it's getting down to the,
It is.
And just, I don't know, it's kind of an idea, just throwing this out there, but I would love if we could try and earmark at least $1 million of that for offsetting things that would have been in next year's, is particularly the CUME funds, anything else that we can pay for that would have had to come out of the budget so that we can bank that money. I mean, I'm just kind of throwing a number out there, but if we can kind of keep that in mind, that'd be a nice number to try and, I just think that'd be a good way to deal with it if we can.
Sure. That's the only thing I'm going to do. I'm going to update it based upon the things that were passed and approved today, just so that you have a working model as to what you need. But just to give you an idea, we're now at approximately 1.4. The only two things that I have today are resolutions to formalize approvals that had been made at the prior council meeting. The first one would be Resolution 16, 2023-16. That would be for the commissioner's request to engage an architectural firm to conduct a feasibility study on the proposed Adams County Courthouse construction project, and you approved at the June meeting the sum of $19,500. That would be an approved ARPA spending plan, so I would submit that to you for consideration.
Then next month, there'll be an additional appropriation in order to appropriate that.
Right.
We'll have to work
I
with Stan to
thought
get
the
it.
land sale from the county home was going to cover some of those expenses.
Just to clarify, that was their letter of proposal was the 19.5. We did get an actual invoice from Elevatus for 17.5.
Okay.
So I don't know if that affects your decision.
Well,
You just leave it at what was
Just-
approved, and there'll just be money left in there. It won't, I mean,
it
You know what I mean?
stays in the fund until there's an actual receipt that gets paid for it anyway. This is just approving it in case it's more.
Aren't they supposed to use that?
Stan, you can come up and see us sometime before additionals are due next month. So we can do that
Well, it
paperwork.
was, but they want to use ARPA, so they can't. The other resolution that I have is Resolution 2023-17. That would be use of ARPA funds. It was discussed and approved at the last meeting. It's to pay for part of the cost to paint and make repairs to the covered bridge in Adams County. The total was $30,800. And it was decided that ARPA funds would be approved in the amount of $15,800 to cover a portion of that, and the rest would come from another fund. So I have that resolution 2023-17 to formalize the approval of that amount.
that's what I was gonna say. We never voted on it.
I don't think we've made the resolution 2023-16. We still need a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve 2023-16 and 2023-17.
John?
I second.
Bob on that. Okay.
All those in favor of resolution 2023-16
And 17.
And 20.
and 17?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Okay, that's all I have today. Thank you.
Julie Marie, do you
Yes.
know of any other, I know we have the library, and now the crisis shelter
Mhm.
on the back burner. Is there any other that I'm not, don't remember?
Nothing with a formal application that has been approved as being ARPA eligible. However, we do have the pending request. You previously said you'd like to do the pickleball course, but the commissioners have held off on that pending getting quotes for that and additional for WebEx. So there's not been formal requests for that, but they're anticipated.
I think you're also waiting on that interlocal agreement with Council on Aging.
No, remember, we already,
Where's that?
that was already approved at up to $200,000.
That's already done deal.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually have that resolution if you're prepared to deal with it, but I wanted to wait until the actual interlocal agreement had been signed by both parties before I tendered it.
I didn't know how soon they needed to.
No, I think we should have the agreement signed before submitting it to council.
All right.
Hey, and I just, the ones we got on hold, you know, I don't want to keep them on hold on definitely. I would like to, hopefully within the next, maybe not next meeting, but within the next 2 meetings, if we take a look at those, and decide, so if those people want to move forward and stuff, they can get their stuff ordered or do whatever they need to do before their price and bids are no longer any good and they got to be rebid.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say, the similar, especially with the crisis center, all their crisis center, their quotes are all, 30-day quotes.
Yeah.
Is if we, so next, hard to believe next month is August already, but if we do in September, that's when we're like, basically we can make these decisions at the end of August when we have our budget hearings. Like we could fix this into all that. You know, it's part of the discussion we can figure out all together at that point. So September we can move on them.
Yep, and I'm fine with that. I just don't want to keep dragging them on forever. I want to get something decided on them so they can move. They have a direction and they can move forward as well.
Thanks, Bob.
I think at some time later on, if we have any money left over as concerned citizens, I think we ought to consider solar panels as a source of supplemental energy. I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but if there's any money left over, maybe we should probably consider that.
I don't know how much 1.4 would pay for that, but.
Yeah.
Maya, you ready for me?
You're up.
Okay. The only thing I have today is 2023 amended salary ordinance. I'm assuming you all got that on the email, but.
And those are all on schedule.
Yeah.
Their own schedules.
Yeah.
Got it all.
Replacements.
Approve.
Second.
All right. Works for me.
You get a motion on that?
Yeah.
They just did.
Yeah.
You got a motion from
Yeah.
John, second from Kathy,
I didn't hear that.
or who was the second?
That's on, okay.
I thought it was, yeah. Motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Unanimous.
got it. You want to sign that real quick and then I'll pass it around.
Stan, would you like to comment on anything? I've got a moment here for you.
Go ahead and sign that,
The only
Dennis.
thing we've got, of course, the Judicial Facilities Review Committee has been meeting, and we were having a meeting on the 12th, and it sounds like the architects are going to be prepared to present
concept drawings and ballpark pricing on the direction that we've given them. So, at that meeting, what I have asked that committee to do is prepare recommendations to council and commissioners. So at some point in the near future, I would look at having a joint meeting with the council and commissioners to accept that recommendation. I think that's something that we're kind of working on. A lot of time to study into that, and so we'll look forward to bringing some of that information to the council. Any other matters to be properly presented at this time? Not, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Kathy and John.
In some capacity with Kathy and John, is that it?
Mark them down however you see fit.
Ladies first. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?